Welcome to the French Revolution. Today we'll be talking about the Reconstruction era. (1790). The Queen and King had been relocated to Paris. Now, after its publication of the Declaration of the Rights of Man, the National Constituent Assembly began to institute a series of reforms to shape France in order to fit their vision of limited democracy. One of their first goals was to secularize France. So they drafted the civil constitution of the clergy, tying the Catholic Church closely to the state. They instituted state-funded salaries for clergy, limited to the influence of the Pope, and forced all clergy members to take an oath to uphold this constitution, losing the support of many Catholics. The churches in Paris are not much frequented on the weekdays at present. I found a few old women on their knees and some of them hearing Mass, and at the same time at the other end, one of these churches' commissionaries were sitting and entering the names of volunteers for the army. The iron rails in the churches which part the choir from the nave and also which encompass chapels and tombs are all ordered to be converted into heads for pikes. By this time, France's economy was in a terrible state. The National Assembly feared resistance from common workers, so they passed Chapelier law, which forbade unionizing and strikes and reinforced free market ideals. They also rearranged their provinces into new divisions of land called departments, which remains the system in modern-day France. The royal family began to grow very suspicious of the new reforms coming into place. The Queen began to grow particularly worried about her family's position in the new regime. While under house arrest at the palace in Paris, Marie Antoinette was leaking information about French revolutionary troop movements to her brother in Austria. Finally, they found an opening from their escape. On June 20th, 1791, in the dead of night, the royal family quietly made their departure in a coach headed for the Austrian border. The family was spotted. They had been recognized, and so shortly thereafter they were arrested. They were then taken back to Paris. People lost all faith in the monarchy and the king. They decided that they would be better off without them. Some Jacobins who had come to the playhouse leapt upon the stage, and if the actors had not hid Madame Deficit, they would have murdered her. They hurried the poor queen and family out of the house, and it was all the guards could do to get them safe into the carriages. Later in 1791, the National Constituent Assembly published a constitution for all of France. They formed a new legislative assembly with power to create laws and declare war. The Constitution allowed indirect elections of some assembly members, but only quote-unquote active citizens, or men who paid enough taxes, could vote. Officially, the monarchy still existed, but in all practicality, it had little power left. As the public opinion of the royalty plummeted, some people valiantly tried to support the monarchy's cause. In 1792, the Duke of Brunswick published a manifesto swearing to harm French citizens if the king and queen were harmed, though his threat mainly increased the fervor of the revolutionaries. The Duke would oppose the revolution alongside Austria after France declared war. The manifesto also stated that even humiliating the king or queen would be met with violence. In 1792, the revolutionaries were finally done with the monarchy, and they jailed the king. The court found the king guilty of treason. The king was sentenced to death by the guillotine. All in all, the Reconstruction period proved to be unsuccessful at fulfilling the revolutionaries' goals for fixing France's problems, and the death of the king even catalyzed the paranoia leading up to the Reign of Terror. But some of the innovations from this period, from existence of a constitution to the departments to the emphasis on secularism, leave their marks on France even today.